This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Alrighty. There he is. How you feeling, Ira? You feeling good?
Winning streak. I figured you might not yell at me today, so it's a winning streak.
Those are two shitty wins. Two crappy teams. The fact that they struggled to beat those crappy teams, it's embarrassing, dude. Please.
I know a win is never embarrassing. A win is never embarrassing.
That's fine, but a standard has been set, and you're not even meeting your own standard. Like I've said before lately here, Eric Spoelstra and that coaching staff save this freaking franchise constantly. That's what they're doing. I can't say enough about Eric Spoelstra.
I think Bam Adebayo is saving the franchise. I think Jimmy Butler is saving the franchise. I think Gabe Vincent lately is saving the franchise. You've got players doing what they need to do. The rotation is very limited. The injuries have mattered no matter what you think of the players who were injured or not going shorthanded. Spoelstra being limited, but Jimmy Butler's minutes, limitation playing through the overtime. You know what, Big O, at the end of the year, when you look at the records of the Celtics, of the Bucks, of the 76ers, and anyone who might finish ahead of the Heat, you don't know how they got there, who was injured against them. It's the totality. The Heat is 7 games above 500. The Heat, when they won that game on Saturday, no matter how they got there, had the 8th best record in the NBA. Look, you might say to me, Ira, the other 22 teams suck.
I'm not impressed with the Heat having. If I'm the Magic, I'm impressed having the 8th spot in the
I get the
what
standards.
I'm saying? There's a standard, and this team is not even close to meeting, its own standards. You need overtime to beat this Magic team. You need, like I said on Friday, my God, they're favored by 11. The easiest bet is to take the Rockets plus 11. Like that's how mediocre you are. That it's so easy to win money against the Heat, because once they're giving a lot of points, they can never cover. To me, it's a kind of a sad state where it's at. I hope that when the playoffs start, this is a completely different franchise when they start, because right now it doesn't look like it's something that's going to actually last in the playoffs.
You know what? The bottom line is, again, 7 over 500, 8th best record in the league after they won the other day, 9-game home winning streak. You take them as you can get them. You hope it comes together more. The biggest problem is this team can't score. When you can't score, you're going to play close games because there's not a lot of points to go around. That's what they have to address. I hope they address that on the buyout market. But as you've seen, players are flying off the board.
Who's the three-point shooter that you're going to address on the open market? Because that's what you need. Like, I hear people, Russell Westbrook, great, let's add another 2-point
scorer,
shooter.
Not a shooter. And that was a problem for the Lakers. The 3-point shooter I'm going to address, you might know this name because I know you follow the game relatively closely, Duncan Robinson. At this point, Duncan Robinson recovering from his finger injury. Remember, shooting from that Washington game when he got injured in the shoot-around he was playing with 4 fingers on his shooting hand. Big O, honestly, if you were to ask me what's the Heat's best option for improved 3-point shooting, knowing who's out there in the market, whether it's a Will Barton or another player, knowing what you have, I think they have to take another look at Duncan now. Look, he's here anyway.
They have no choice.
He's under contract. 2 reasons for that. 1, maybe he hits some threes. Great, they could use him. 2, maybe he hits some threes, and then you can move him in the offseason because he's actually hitting threes again. So again, I've spoken to you about this. The Heat are not in position where they can showcase players. They have to win games. The number 5 seed is within reach. It could be there as soon as Wednesday in Brooklyn. The number 4 seed against Cleveland is still possible. They're playing for really important stakes right now. But I agree, they do need to upgrade either internally or externally. I do agree with that. A week ago, we were talking trading deadline, came and went. Now we look at buyout deadline. Again, Terrence Ross has already left. He's gone to the Suns. You had a chance for a couple of other players. They moved on also. Reggie Jackson, not a big fan of him anyway. He's going to Denver, so you have that
going on. 4 or 5 years ago, I would have wanted Reggie Jackson.
Yes,
not now.
Yes, between Detroit and when he moved to the Clippers and upgraded his game, I'm going to give you a perspective on where the buyout market stands. The 76ers today reached an agreement with Dwayne Dedmon. That tells you where the buyout market stands. You're not shooting for the fences on somebody like this.
No, I know. It's just, unfortunately, you've got a team that is poorly constructed. It's not built for today's NBA. It's built more for the 90s more than today's NBA. and it's kind of an uphill battle for them. And now you're holding hope for a guy that, had lost his starting spot. I don't know if he's lost his mojo or whatever. And then it also becomes another detriment when you put him out there, because he's going to give up more points or as many as he can possibly score. And so that becomes another issue with Duncan Robinson. You're not getting any better either.
You try to hide him in the zone. When they were successful, they did. I agree with you on one thing, though. They don't have enough
defensive players to hide other people.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes. And
if you were strong 4 out of 5, you can hide that guy.
And that's what they did before.
Strong 2 out of 5.
And that's what they did before. When they still had PJ Tucker and they were defensive oriented a little bit more in the starting lineup, you could put Duncan in there, play a zone, and make it work. With Tyler Hero playing 36 minutes a game right now, you have to hide 2 guys. Sometimes you have to hide 3 guys. That's been the problem. The thought is defensively, when Victor Oladipo comes back, he's been very good with his hands, getting steals, mucking things up a little. That'll help you defensively late in games. Even the size of Omer Yurtseven, just to secure the rebounds. We know he's a rebounder. That'll help. It's interesting. For as much,
but also, you know what's unfair that we're doing a Yurt? He's a youngin, dude. Now we're the guy's trying to come back from an injury. Now we're also going to put expectations on a youngin who really has yet to prove that he can do it on a consistent basis. He flashed it for us for a short time as a young guy, but yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's just that's a little unfair to Yurt too, man.
No, but you know what? But that's also, he's also going to be an pending free agent. So he's playing for something real. So you know what? As crazy as the NBA is, and you're right, Big O, he's a young player who's unproven. Some team's going to throw him $8 million in the offseason. That's the crazy world they live in.
He has talent. There's no doubt he's got talent.
So you have to see what you have. So the bottom line is, if the Heat are getting Duncan Robinson back, if the Heat are getting Victor Oladipo back, if the Heat are getting the season debut of Omer Yurtseven, they at least have something to grasp on to get better and to move up. I mean, right now, honestly, I like the team that Brooklyn has as far as young, scrappy guys with Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson they brought over, Joe Harris shooting, Nick Claxton. But the Heat should be able to push past them in the seeding race. And you know what, Big O? If they get to a 4 or 5 with the Cavaliers, it's a lot better than playing the Celtics. It's a lot better than playing the Bucks. Definitely. It's a lot better than playing the Sixers. They can win a round. They can get to the second round. Once you get to the final 8, you know what? There's a lot worse places you could be in the NBA. If you're asking me this, and I understand it, Big O, are the Heat a championship contender this season?
No, not even close.
But you're not a championship contender every season. There's no team. Look at the Warriors. The Warriors won a championship and might not make the playoffs this year. That's the parity that we've seen for years in the NFL. We're seeing it right now in the NBA. Is there a super team in the NBA? Well, maybe the Suns become that. Maybe the Celtics continue this run. Maybe Milwaukee. Maybe Denver, who the Heat face tonight. But it's a league that otherwise is wide open. The Heat are part of that.
How are the Heat favored tonight against Denver?
Well, Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon are questionable. So I think this is one of those injury lines. If you remember, Jamal Murray killed the Heat.
So pre-game, they become available.
This is going to be a line that's going to move up and down. That depending on who you want to play in tonight's game, it's going to be the timing of when you put your bet in. If you remember the game in Denver, the Heat were competitive, and then the Nuggets, I believe, scored on 18 of their final 21 possessions, and Jamal Murray went off. Without Jamal Murray and without Aaron Gordon, they're a one-man team. All of a sudden, you double Jokic a little bit more, you're going to have a higher level of success. So this will be very much of an injury-less game leading up to the 7:30 tip-off.
Are we going to see Jimmy Butler? This would be his 3rd game in 4 nights.
Yeah, we'll see Jimmy Butler. It's all measured. He played the back-to-back. He was supposed to go by agreement, 28 minutes per night. God bless Spo that he didn't do what so many coaches do. Oh, it's only 28 minutes. You're not going to play the overtime. They needed the game. Jimmy's fine. He's not that old. He played through. He gets a day off. And I like what Eric Spoelstra said. After these next 2 games, the team has 8 days off. Give it all you got. These are huge games. Tonight at home against Denver, Wednesday in Brooklyn. Push them to the limit. They'll have a full week to rest and recover as Jimmy bypasses any more overtures for the All-Star game and winds up in Cabo or somewhere for 8 days.
All right. Yeah, that does make sense because you do get 8 days, so you might as well push through. But I'm just wondering if Jamal Murray and who's Aaron the other
Gordon.
one that's Aaron Gordon are listed out. do they counter like they did the other day when they, countered, oh, those guys are out. Okay, this guy's out too, and this guy's out
Not
too.
against not against the best team in the Western Conference. You can play the game against the Rockets. You can play that game against the Magic. You can't do it against Denver. The Heat has been wholly unable to stop Nikola Jokic over his career. That's a challenge to itself. Again, everyone looks at him as more of a finesse center, but he uses his brawn against Bam. And again, you've seen this, Big O, when you've been to games. Bam looks small against a lot of centers when he's jumping that opening tip. There are still guys who have 20, 30 more pounds on him. So that does wear on him. And yet he shows up every night. He plays hard every night. He's a bona fide all-star. He's helped carry that team. Right now, Bam Adebayo is the Miami Heat's 2022-23 MVP.
Yeah, can you imagine Zoe when he played in an era of real centers and most of them outweighed him and most of them were taller than him?
Oh, Zoe against Yao Ming. Zoe looked like a point guard. But that's what the Heat have always had, sort of that feisty kind of guy who is driven to push. It's a harder way to win. And I know as much as you praise Eric Spoelstra, and he's one of the all-time greats, the fact is that they're still prioritizing defense. In 2023, I do believe is a little misguided, Big O. I know they always say if you don't defend, you don't win. The NBA has gone full circle.
But Ira, this team can't score. So it's imperative. No, I disagree with you. Spo has to force the defensive side because he has no explosion on offense. He doesn't have the luxury of having an offense that can go on a 20-4 run. He doesn't have the offense that has 2 or 3 dynamic three-point shooters that can just cut a 10-point lead within 65 seconds and multiple possessions. It just does not happen. So Spo has to actually raise the awareness of defense even more because of the detriment of his offense.
But Big O, how incredible is it that the Heat are averaging like 108.6 points per game and are last in the league in scoring? You remember a time in Heat Knicks, that would have been the league lead in scoring. The Heat are the only team in the NBA averaging fewer than 110 points. That's insane. You have to keep up with the times. Like you pointed out, how do you keep up with the times? With three-point shooting. If you don't have three-point shooting and you have the best defense in the world, you still can't win because, as you know, you can't trade twos for threes in today's NBA. They've got to get three-point shooting somehow, some way. I agree. Russell Westbrook's not going to solve that. Patrick Beverley's not going to solve that. You've got to address that first and then deal with everything else thereafter.
Somewhere, Doug Moe and Lafayette Lever are going, man, this is our basketball. Yep. We were in the wrong time zone. We had to be in 2023. Come on.
Oh, hell, imagine what Paul Westhead is thinking right now when he put no emphasis on defense when he was coaching those Nuggets teams. It didn't work, but at least he tried to bring his Loyola Marymount game. It's a different world out there.
On the college level, it worked, actually. And who knows, that might have been the genesis of what led to years later of what
Paul
we've watched now.
To Mike D'Antoni's 7 seconds or less, and then moving on down. It's not necessarily the fast break, though. That was Westhead, and that was D'Antoni. It's the three-point shooting. It's not that the Warriors have run up and down the court. It's just that their priority is a Steph 3, a Clay 3, get their three-point shooters going, and then play it inside. Just a different time. It's crazy. The Heat last season, best three-point shooting team in the NBA. This season, 4th worst. Just happens.
Zion Williamson, his problem is he looks like Orlando Alzugaray, right? I mean, that's kind of what it is.
Or like SpongeBob, Now, you might look like SpongeBob also, but
Another setback. I mean, listen, it's good for talk shows because I know because I've done it for 30 years. I'm in the kind of shape that I can do a 4-hour, 5-hour marathon talk show. You know what I'm saying? But there's no way I can do 35 minutes on the court or maybe 3 minutes on the court. So Zion Williamson, once again, the injury bug, another setback in his recovery.
It's crazy. Voted an all-star starter with no credentials because of the hype machine, the popularity. Given a maximum extension without barely playing at all because of the reputation he brought in and the desperation of the New Orleans Pelicans. I think what it shows is you can't be a rectangle and play in the NBA. This is a sinewy league, but you have to be angular to a degree. You know what? That's his body type. I don't think it's changing. I think you have to accept, hey, we're going to get Zion Williamson. He's going to play maybe 40 games a year. That's just who he is right now.
So Does it get any better, or does it? What do they do?
I don't think with that body type it can. There have been guys who have had injuries at the start of their career and then gone injury-less over the rest of their career. I haven't seen that break yet. I haven't seen that breakthrough moment right now. So I think he's going to be a sum of the time player. When he's healthy and that roster and Brandon Ingram are healthy, they were at the top of the Western Conference.
Yeah.
When not, they're a completely different team. Now, what you don't want to be is on top of the conference. They wind up with a low seed. All of a sudden, Zion comes back. They're facing the Suns or someone, and you have a completely different team with Zion versus without Zion.
So can you see Miami trading him for Kyle Lowry next year?
The Kyle Lowry thing, and I know where you're trying to go with this, but the Kyle Lowry thing is just, I mean, the Heat right now, I think, have to ride it out, hope it works. He's not a terrible player. He still can do certain things for you.
For the money, he's terrible. For the money, he's absolutely
okay. It's dollar value, but when they call his name out of the game, they don't mention how much he makes. It's not starting at point guard and earning $28 million.
But we know the cap space he takes.
Yes.
It's not how much money he makes.
It's a killer.
It's the cap space he takes. That's what it is. That's what we don't give a shit about the money. That's Mickey's money. We don't care about that. That's we're not supposed to care about that. He's a billionaire. I'm not crying for him. But what we care about is the cap space he takes.
Yes.
Is really the problem, because it stops you from actually getting better. So I'm just saying, you got to what's that expiring deal worth next year? Is there
it's not worth a damn thing. It's not worth a damn thing, just like Kevin Love's wasn't this year. What is the expiring deal worth when attached to something?
No, but what I'm but wait a minute. You're right. You're 100% right what you're saying. But is there a chance that there is a star that is just becoming unhappy with his situation, and they have multiple years left, and they're stuck with him in a way that there's some baggage with that person? It can't be just like, hey, it's Bradley Beal. He wants out, and he's a great kid. Let's trade him. No, that's going to cost you some compensation.
Straight up, I don't see that. I mean, I thought a contract like that had been Julius Randle. Now he's playing very well. He's playing at a different level. He's an all-star. I thought he was that kind of deal. There are not a lot of those deals. It's going to have to be with a sweetener. You're right. You don't get Beal for Lowry. You might get Beal for Hero and Lowry. Then we're not debating Lowry. You're just debating with me, Ira, Bradley Beal versus Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler win now mode. Where do you want to go? That's the discussion we'll be having in the offseason.
Now I'm all in.
Yeah, and in the summer league in Vegas. Yeah.
I'm all in.
Because you know what, Big O? As much as he missed 15 games this season, and you talked about Zion missing games, when Jimmy Butler plays, he's really freaking good.
Oh, he's awesome.
And he's a winning player at winning time. So maybe you have to live in the moment, even though you and I have spoken about the Tyler and Bam thing down the road. Maybe for Jimmy, you have to live in the moment. Again, 2 Eastern Conference Finals the last 3 years. With the right team, he can get you there.
Now, listen, with Jimmy, of course, his body, obviously wearing down, but at least you will have in the memory bank everything that he's produced. The problem with Kyle Lowry is he has not done anything for that money to justify the move or anything like that. So it just makes the situation just that much more sour, I think, for a lot of fans. With Jimmy, the sacrifice is there. You see it, you watch it all the time, But I do fear the back end of this contract that is not going to be a good one, unfortunately.
Well, but I can tell you, he maintains that body as well as anyone. So he's not going to let that body fall aside. He has his own personal training staff. He is relentless with them. He will do everything to be at 38 at the end of that contract, what he is right now at 33. He is committed to that, and he does have the body type that can endure. It's just a matter, like you pointed out, the minutes that Tom Thibodeau put on him in his previous days, does he still have enough legs left? That's what we're saying.
Practice and everything with him. That's where it wears you out too. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. What are you doing leading up to the game?
A couple of things today. I did a story on Gabe Vincent. Kind of interesting. In 2020, in the bubble in Orlando, Eric Spoelstra had Gabe Vincent as the scout team point guard. So he was the opposing emulator. One of the guys he emulated, he told me, was Kyle Lowry. So he said he played the role of Kyle Lowry, learned from him. Now he's replacing him and doing a fantastic job. That's already posted at sunsentinel.com. And I just posted a story about Dwayne Dedmon and the irony of joining the Sixers, the only team the Heat have yet to face this season. So you will have 4 Heat versus Dedmon games still on the schedule, including 2 at Miami-Dade Arena. So hide the Theraguns, people. Hide the Theraguns. He's coming back.
And tell Gabe if he wants to impress me, he has to wear a fat suit when he plays the Kyle Lowry row. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heapy. Catch his work there at the South Florida Sunset.
He said that, not Ira. Tomorrow, Inside the Paint, brought to you by RedRecover.com. We'll join you tomorrow at 9 a.m. with Kurt Heel, and we'll go around the NBA buyout deadline, look back again at the trade deadline. Thanks, Big O. He said it.
You got it. Yes. Kyle, Zion, you can't look like me and play in the NBA. See you later, Ira.
See you.
All right. There you go. Ira Winderman and our Acura Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat, and NBA report.
This is the Big O Show.